Good morning, good afternoon, and possibly good evening, depending on what time zone from which you're zooming in, and Happy New Year to all. Thank you for joining us for this informational webinar on the recently announced Renée Fleming NeuroArts Investigator Awards. We are really so excited about this incredible and promising new initiative, and very excited as well to have such an incredible turnout to learn more about it. I am Ruth Katz, co-director of the NeuroArts Blueprint, which has joined forces with the Renée Fleming Foundation to create these awards. I also serve as director of the Health Medicine and Society program at the Aspen Institute. The Institute has partnered with the International Arts and Mind Lab at the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine to establish the NeuroArts Blueprint project, which is hosting today's webinar. We'll get started with the webinar in just a moment, but first, just a few words about how we will conduct today's program. The purpose of this webinar is to review and clarify the information that has already been made public about the Fleming Awards. The deadline for submitting applications is upon us, so we want to be sure that you have the information you need to get yours completed and submitted on time. The webinar is being recorded. The recording will be available within 48 hours on the NeuroArts Blueprint website, so not to worry if you miss something today. You'll see that the chat function has been turned off. As you will note later on in the program, we do have time for questions. If we don't address the question you may still have at the end of the webinar, please be sure to submit that to info@neuroartsblueprint.org. I'll repeat that address actually several times later in the program. With that, let's get started with a quick review of today's agenda. Next slide, please. So how are we going to spend the next 30 minutes or so? First, with a very special welcome from a very special guest. Second, we'll provide an overview of the Fleming Awards program, talk about who is eligible to apply for what. Finally, we'll spend some time walking through the most frequently asked questions we have already received about the program since it was announced several weeks ago. Now, there's much to cover in a very short time, so let me get right to introducing our very special guest, a person who actually needs no introduction, but I'm going to give one anyway. Next slide, please. It is my immense pleasure and great honor to welcome and introduce the incomparable Renée Fleming. To say that Renée is a superstar is an absolute understatement. In the words of President Joe Biden, who just a few weeks ago celebrated Renée's lifetime achievements at the as a Kennedy Center honoree, and I quote, "Renée Fleming is someone who brings joy to the world with her extraordinary voice, one of the greatest opera singers of all time." That really doesn't say it all, but to underscore the president's comments, Renée is a multiple Grammy Award winner, a Tony Award nominee, and a National Merit of Arts recipient. Indeed, the list goes on and on and on, and there are just way too many honors and awards to name here. But Renée is also a strong and recognized leader. Last May, she was appointed Goodwill Ambassador for Arts and Health by the World Health Organization. She also serves as Kennedy Center Artistic Advisor at Large. And of course, she leads the Renée Fleming Foundation. And perhaps most relevant for today's session, Renée is an incredible advocate for the study of the powerful connections between the arts and health. In her work with the Kennedy Center, Renée has spearheaded the Sound Health Initiative, a collaboration between the Kennedy Center and the National Institutes of Health with the participation of the National Endowment of the Arts. This initiative has led to $20 million in funding from the NIH for music and neuroscience research, with more expected, hopefully to include other art forms. Renée is also founding advisor to the Sound Health Network. And most proudly for us, Renée serves as co-chair of the NeuroArts Blueprint. She's been with us from the start, has contributed enormously to the enterprise in countless ways, and is simply wonderful to work with. For that and so much more, we are most grateful. But Renée doesn't just talk the talk of the Blueprint. She and her foundation are investing in one of the core recommendations of the Blueprint, to strengthen the research founding of NeuroArts. To that end, the Renée Fleming Foundation, in collaboration with the NeuroArts Blueprint, has created the Renée Fleming NeuroArts Investigator Awards, an incredible opportunity designed both to bolster NeuroArts research and to incentivize greater collaboration between those working in science and those working in the arts to achieve what we ultimately all want, better health for all. With that, I now turn the Zoom stage over to the great Renée Fleming. Renée, thanks so very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ruth. I'm absolutely thrilled to be working with you on this. The idea for the Research Awards came from a desire to begin collaboration between artists and scientists earlier in your careers, supporting this pipeline for future research in the field while also supporting the next generation of researchers. It's been so clear to me with all of the work that I've done with the NIH, with the Sound Health Network, and of course with NeuroArts, that this is incredibly helpful. And I do believe in the collaboration between artists and scientists. So I'm hoping these grants will expand the basic and applied research on the impacts of the arts on health and well-being and help to build the field of NeuroArts. The NeuroArts Blueprint is the best place for the awards program to reside. We're building a broader field with clear expansion plan over the coming years, in tandem with upcoming NeuroArts Resource Center, a virtual hub for work in the field, and application guidelines on NeuroArts on the website, and the NIH Music-Based Intervention Toolkit in the Journal of Neurology as well. Webinars on the Sound Health Network are also very helpful and great resources to look to for figuring out how to do this at such a high level that you could be considered next for NIH grants and other larger grants. So I'm very excited about this because I know that you have the creativity in you. I also feel that science is intrinsically creative, and that's, I think, probably why I love it so much. So I'm going to turn this back over to brilliant Ruth Katz to lead the next section.
Thank you, Renée. Okay, let's start with an overview of the program. The purpose of the Fleming Awards is twofold: to expand the evidence base of the emerging field of NeuroArts and to further the mission of the NeuroArts Blueprint. So how do we define this emerging field of NeuroArts? NeuroArts is the study of how the arts measurably change the brain and body and how this knowledge can be translated into practices that advance health and well-being. And the mission of the NeuroArts Blueprint is to see the arts and their use in all their many forms, music and beyond, see them become part of mainstream medicine and public health. All this will be the focus of the Fleming Awards, which will be administered and managed by the NeuroArts Blueprint. Next slide, please. Now, two types of awards are available under the program. There are 2 one-year awards to support basic research in neuroscience. 2 of those will be made. Each award will be up to $25,000 in funding for support. 4 one-year awards to support applied research in NeuroArts will also be made. Each of those awards is for up to $7,500. Let's now walk through the specific of each type of awards. First, the basic research awards. Next slide, please. The purpose of the basic research awards is to expand the science behind NeuroArts. That is, to expand the scientific evidence that demonstrates the power of the arts to measurably change the brain and body in advancing the health and well-being of individuals. Award proposals should be designed to carry out this purpose. Now, generally speaking, applications must include 2 principal investigators. 1, an early career investigator engaged in a field of basic science related to NeuroArts, and 2, an individual working in an arts-based NeuroArts discipline. The idea here, as Renée has said, is to have NeuroArts scientists and NeuroArts practitioners working together to build the research portfolio for the field of NeuroArts. So who qualifies as an early career investigator? This must be an individual with a full-time appointment at a U.S. academic or research institution engaged in a field of basic science related to NeuroArts, such as complementary medicine, neuroscience, psychology, public health, but there is no fixed list here. These are just examples that you're seeing on the slide. And I will talk more a little bit about what we mean by early career investigators during our section on frequently asked questions. Next slide, please. And what do we mean by the term arts-based NeuroArts disciplines? We mean virtually all art forms, such as dance, music, of course, performing arts, visual arts, all those fall into that category. But again, there is no fixed list. Early career investigators may apply in their individual capacity or as a leader of team of researchers. Similarly, individuals engaged in an arts-based NeuroArts discipline may apply in their individual capacity or as affiliated with an organization engaged in an arts-based NeuroArts discipline. Now, there's one exception to the requirement that the basic research awards are to include two kinds of principal investigators that I just described. And that exception is an application submitted by an individual with a full-time appointment at a U.S. academic or research institution engaged in both a field of basic science related to NeuroArts and an arts-related NeuroArts discipline. Basically, if an individual meets the criteria for the two kinds of principal investigators I've just described, that person alone may apply for a basic research award. In terms of what kinds of things will be supported by the award, you have some examples up here: staff, research supplies, computers, those sorts of things. Again, these are just sample examples. There will be other activities that will clearly be involved. Next slide, please. Now, let me turn to the Applied Research Awards. The purpose of the Applied Research Awards is to apply the science behind NeuroArts in a community-based setting to advance the health and well-being of individuals or groups of individuals. That is, to take what has been learned about the science behind NeuroArts, the evidence, if you will, and apply that in a group setting, such as a health center, to learn how that evidence can be used to advance the health and well-being of groups of people. Award proposals should be designed to carry out this purpose. Applications must include a principal investigator who is either a postdoc or PhD candidate affiliated with the U.S. academic or research institution, someone who is also engaged in a field of basic science related to NeuroArts, or engaged in an arts-based NeuroArts discipline, and working under the guidance of a faculty member affiliated with the U.S. academic or research institution, and who has experience and expertise in the use of evidence-based NeuroArts research and its application to individuals or groups of individuals. Now, individuals may apply in their individual, next slide, please. Individuals may apply in their individual capacity or as a leader of team researchers. But please note that, like the basic research awards, the idea here is to have NeuroArts scientists and NeuroArts practitioners working together to build the research portfolio for the field of NeuroArts. So while the Applied Research Awards are open to a single principal investigator engaged in either NeuroArts sciences or NeuroArts disciplines, cross-collaboration between the two fields in designing a proposal is strongly encouraged. In terms of activities, the application, of course, has to specify what they would be. Again, examples are up on your screen that you can note at the bottom here. But note, however, that unlike basic research awards, funds for the Applied Research Awards may not be used to support staff salaries. Next slide, please. Now, regardless of which type of award you may be interested in, there are several general application guidelines that apply. First, applicants must be U.S. citizens or permanent residents. Second, applicants may submit only one proposal and for only one type of award. Award funds do not cover indirect costs, including rent for office space. Award funds may not be used for operating support of existing programs. New work is what we're trying to support here, and that's what we want you to submit proposals about. Award funds may also not be used to purchase equipment totaling more than $1,500. And both awards, the duration for each is 1 year. Next slide, please. Very briefly about the application review process. We are in the process of assembling an application review committee, which will be co-chaired by eminent scientists engaged in the field of basic science related to neuroarts and an eminent practitioner engaged in an arts-based neuroarts discipline. Members of the committee, all of them, will be experts in their respective fields. In addition to an application-specific elements, that is the actual substance of the proposal, committee members will review the application in accordance with the criteria outlined on the slide. I believe there are 6 of them. Each of these is more briefly described in the public announcement of the Fleming Awards that presumably you all have seen, and will be available again, and is available on the NeuroArts Blueprint website. The review committee will make its recommendations to the NeuroArt Blueprint leadership team, who will make final award decisions in consultation with both the review committee and the Renée Fleming Foundation. Next slide, please. 2 key dates we want to point out: February 1, that's the deadline for submitting applications, and April 1, that is the date when we intend to announce winners of both the Basic Science and the Applied Science Awards. Finally, we now want to turn to your questions, those that we have received over the last several weeks. From the moment we announced the Fleming Awards, we encourage folks to contact us with questions they might have about either the awards themselves or the application process. The next few slides provide answers to those questions that we've heard about the most. Now, those questions and answers will be posted on the NeuroArts Blueprint website, as will other frequently asked questions that we may address after the conclusion of today's webinar. So if you find that questions remain at the conclusion of the webinar, please feel free to email them. I promise I'll give you the address again, info@neuroartsblueprint.org. Next slide, please. So let's start with questions related to eligibility. And perhaps this first one is the most frequently asked question that we received. And that is, what is the definition of an early career investigator? For purposes of the Fleming Awards, an early career investigator is a new investigator who has completed their terminal research degree or medical residency, whichever date is later, within the last 10 years. We've also been asked quite a few times, are postdocs eligible to apply for a basic research award or only for an applied research award? The answer is only an applied research award. As a reminder, to be eligible to apply for a basic research award, an individual must hold a full-time appointment at a U.S. academic or research institution and be engaged in the field of basic science related to neuroarts. Postdocs are not considered to have a full-time academic appointment. But I suspect we may revisit this question since we've gotten it a number of times, not for this initial round of awards, but we may be looking at that very issue in the future. Next question. Is an individual with adjunct status at an academic or research institution eligible to apply for an award, or is a full-time academic appointment required? As I just noted, for basic research awards, an early investigator, as I just described, must hold a full-time appointment at a U.S. academic or research institution and be engaged in a field of basic science related to neuroarts to be eligible to apply. Adjuncts are not considered to have a full-time academic appointment. But for applied research awards, an individual must be a postdoc or a PhD candidate affiliated with the U.S. academic or research institution, and adjuncts are considered to be affiliated with those kinds of institutions. So they are eligible to apply there. Next slide, please. Are medical students eligible to apply for either award? No, medical students may not apply for either award. However, medical residents may apply for an award. Are non-US citizens eligible to apply for an award? No, although individuals with a green card are eligible to apply. And US citizens with a full-time appointment at or an affiliation with a non-US academic or research institution are eligible to apply. Let me repeat that one. US citizens with a full-time appointment at or has an affiliation with a non-US academic or research institution, those individuals are eligible to apply. May an individual, I'm sorry, I'm sort of continuing this question. May an individual unaffiliated with an academic or research institution apply for an award? Can an unaffiliated artist apply for an award? For basic science awards, again, an early career investigator has to have a full-time appointment with a U.S. academic or research institution. However, an individual working in an arts-based NeuroArts discipline need not have such an appointment or otherwise be affiliated with the U.S. academic or research institution. But recall, the Basic Science Award application generally requires both the scientist and an artist to apply as co-principals. So in neither instance neither individual could apply on his or her own. We're looking to have two principal investigators for the Basic Science Award, except for that one exception where we have a twofer, where someone meets both sets of criteria. Now, for applied research awards, a principal investigator must either be a postdoc or a PhD candidate affiliated with a U.S. academic or research institution. Here, the key word is affiliated with. And this last question on the slide, are for-profit businesses eligible to apply for an award? They are not. Next slide, please. Now let me turn to questions related to the use of award funds. First, lots of questions on this. Does either award cover indirect costs? No, neither award covers indirect costs. Does either award cover article process charges and/or travel expenses to present research findings at conferences? Both types of awards cover article process charges and/or travel expenses to prevent research findings at conferences and other appropriate venues, so long as these charges and expenses are related to the research work supported by the Fleming Award. Finally, folks want to know where to send their completed applications. When they're ready to go, please send those to info@neuroartsblueprint.org. Again, info@neuroartsblueprint.org. And we really can't wait to see them. Get them in as soon as you can. Again, these questions that I've just spoken about, we heard about from all of you, many others over the last several weeks. They were the most frequently asked questions that we received. If we haven't addressed something that remains a question for you, or if this presentation has raised new questions, please send those again to info@neuroartsblueprint.org. We're going to post these questions that we've just gone over, as well as any new frequently asked questions that we have. We'll post that all on the NeuroArts Blueprint website just as quickly as possible. Next slide, please. Before we end, a reminder of some key contact information. On this slide, you will find addresses for application materials for the Fleming Awards in general, where to submit questions, as I just discussed, about the Fleming Awards, and where to sign up for the NeuroArts Blueprint mailing list, as well as access to the NeuroArts Blueprint report. I know we've covered a ton of material in a very short time. We really hope that this was helpful in helping you prepare your applications and getting them to us just as quickly as possible. Thank you for joining us. A very special thanks to Renee as well We look forward to receiving your award applications and otherwise to working with you and helping to build the field of neuroarts. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you all.